So I am back in Philly, and I still haven't made it back to Connecticut, but I did manage to spend a great few days in Miami. Got back last night. It's nice to be back at the regular watch shows. No better way to get a feel for the market than to be at the shows. Rolex is still the king at the shows, and the market is very, very strong. So 3 watches I love this week, and the first one is a very unusual Rolex. It's the 218-399. It is a baguette bezel, 41 millimeter, and that's rare enough on its own, but to have it with this pave dial with green markers, I've never seen it before in person. It is definitely a little ostentatious, but just amazing quality, absolutely beautiful piece, one you will not see a lot of. Now, the second piece is a white gold Daytona, the 116509, so the current version, but with the silver Arabic dial. It's what they call the racing dial. It's very rare to have this dial on the new version. I love the weight of this watch. It's an awesome piece. And the last piece is a Lange, and we always talk about Langes, but this one is an unusual piece. It's a Saxonia, but what makes it really special is 2 things. First, it's yellow gold. Majority of what we see today is rose or white. This one's in yellow, but it's also got the complete bracelet in yellow gold made by Wellendorff. It's absolutely gorgeous. The fit and finish of this bracelet is amazing. Super rare piece. Love to have it in the collection. So getting back to doing watch shows regularly has been great, but it's got me to thinking about what it might be like to be back at doing big primary shows. Now, for 30 plus years, we went to Basel, SIHH, Watches and Wonders, and now I'm realizing how much I miss going to those events. Networking with our friends, seeing all the vendors, seeing the new releases. There was such an energy that would come for those shows that just was amazing. And while the new releases being online are great, you seem to lose a little bit of that energy you get from a new show. I've also felt like the new releases have gotten to be a little smaller. So a new dial, a little different color material, even different straps are kind of qualifying as new releases. And I wonder if we'll ever get back to that major launches, major events, and major parties that used to be the hallmark of this industry. So thinking back on it, some of my favorite launches over the last few decades, I remember them vividly. And the first one that came to mind was the La Dona launch. Now this was Cartier, early 2000s, I think it was 2006. Huge event in Geneva, Salma Hayek strolling through the crowd, wearing this absolutely groundbreaking, distinctive design. Now it might not have stood the test of time, but the media impact and the huge splash that they did by having Salma Hayek, by making a super distinctive watch, different from anything else they'd ever made, was just amazing. Now, I think the most memorable event I ever got to go to was the launch for the Zeitwerk. In 2009, Lange invited the dealers and a lot of the media to Berlin. Now, this was a completely new concept in time display, and they used the occasion to have what they called dinner in the dark. Now, blind waiters led you to your table in complete darkness, and I mean total darkness. The theory they gave was when it's dark enough, you can see the stars. And some people got a little freaked out, and some of us might have started a little food fight here or there, but it was obviously one of the most important launches for Lange. They did it in an amazingly dramatic way, and it was the talk of the industry and really became an epic kind of turning point for the brand to do something so distinctive, do it in such a distinctive way. And then probably one of the most important launches we ever went to was the 175th anniversary of Patek. Now, traditionally, every 25 years, they celebrate an anniversary. 2014 was the 175th. They took us to Geneva. They actually transformed their headquarters and the parking lot into a huge event space, launched the 5575, the 5975, and our really impactful Grandmaster chime. It was one of the most complicated pieces they ever made, an aggressive design, really big, a little bit of a change for Patek in their grand complications, but really set the market on fire with what they did and how they did it in such a grand scale. And the last event that I really think about was another Patek event, but this was the Grand Exhibition in New York. 8 days of partners, museum tours, iconic launches, the New York World Timer, the minute repeater, the steel 5522. They made such an impact not only on the watch market, but on the collectible market in general, and really put Patek Philippe on the map in the United States, doing it in such an important way in New York City. It's really something we haven't seen since. So now I'm looking forward, trying to figure out if we'll ever get back to these type of events, these kind of grand launches. And it gave me the time to think about my friend CQ, my man in Dubai. He's on his way back through Philly. And our first thing that's coming up is Dubai Watch Week. Now, 2 years ago we did this. It was an incredible event, and it's really something I'm looking forward to. So we're going to take the opportunity today to sit down with CQ and really talk about the past event and what we're anticipating for the future. So this week on Market Wrap, we've been talking about some of our favorites events in the past, and I happen to have a special guest roaming through.
I'm back.
He's back in Philly. He's roaming through, and I figured it was the perfect time to talk about what was one of my favorite events, Dubai Watch Week, that I got to do with Q, and the fact that it's probably going to be the first big event we get to do subsequently this year in November. So Q, welcome back to Philly.
Good to be back, Mike. Always good to be on with you.
It is so good to be on with you, and I think my first really heavy time on the camera was with you in Dubai, doing our daily recaps.
Yeah, I don't know if before then maybe did one or two things, but the daily recaps were definitely boot camp, and just, man, that was so awesome shooting every day. And we had a beautiful studio set up, and we were able to record, have a little bit of audience on the outside as well, and be able to, it was very busy trying to get all the topics for the day in, going and see what new watches were released, and filming the same day off. So that was a great time.
So yeah, I think the first thing that struck me so much was, first of all, there was so much new releases, which I didn't expect, but they did, a lot of brands had products specifically set up for Dubai Watch Week. The other thing that I think shocked me was my first trip to Dubai, and it was the fact that the warmth. And when I say warmth, not like it was just 100 degrees, which it probably will be, but the people. Yes. And the community was like smaller than I expected and so warm. I mean, the guys on the windows waving to us and making you feel like you belong there.
It was a very welcoming environment. I think that's what makes it so much special. Yes, there were great watches, and Philippe Dufour and F.B. Journe, but everybody was so welcoming. There was media partners from all different branches. Nobody was competing, and we had all these brands, and you had CEOs, presidents of companies just pulling you in. Just let me tell you about this watch. Not necessarily, hey, let me sell you this watch, but hey, I want to tell you about this watch. And it goes to show the passion of the hobby and how much people from all walks of life just love watches and just want to enjoy talking about watches. And it was a good time. Very welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah, very welcoming. And I think the other thing that makes it so easy is it's not a selling environment.
No.
It's just a matter, you're there to talk and to show and to build that community, and that's my favorite part of it. So talk to me, what was your best memories of Dubai Watch Week, the previous?
So last Dubai Watch Week, there was a lot. Of course, doing the countdown with you every day was great. To be honest, when Mr. Dufour, Philippe Dufour, was talking to everybody in the studio, and it was you, Brian Goffberg, Danny Goffberg, me, some of the most talkative people in the world. And it was just so quiet because he's just telling us a story. And then he pulls out the second watch he ever makes out of his coat. And we're all just like, oh my God. And it was just stunning that he was so humble, and we're able to, everybody's able to ask questions to him. And he's just happy to share his story. So that was one of my favorite moments. For sure.
That was definitely up there. I think the funniest part of it was, I think some of our viewers will remember that I think it might have been like the second day we're doing a recap. Just before we're going to go film, we run to the men's room because that's what you do. And I'm sitting there in the men's room doing what I'm doing. You're sitting there in the men's room, and I just look next to me, and it's Philippe Dufour.
Yes.
And I'm a watch guy from way back, and he has always been a god, a watch god. I mean, he's the ultimate pinnacle of watchmakers, in my humble opinion. And to just be sitting there going like, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, cute, look who's next to me. And then he did show up unannounced into our booth, and wow. I mean, really just sitting there and listening to him and the passion. Yeah. He's not a young guy, but sharper than you could possibly imagine, and opinionated, and everything you expect from a great watchmaker. He told you the way it was. Yeah. And it was just amazing experience.
What I love too is he wasn't, he wasn't an exhibitor or anything like that. He literally was just coming to Dubai Watch Week to, probably hang out with his friends and all these people he's connected with. but you always heard the story of seeing Philippe Dufour just out there smoking his pipe, and that's what you saw. You know, at the outside.
We saw him every day. We would wave to him after that. We were like friends by the end of the week.
You know, just walking out there, you know, smoking his pipe and happy to talk to whoever was, you know, brave enough to go up to talk to him. And that was really amazing.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I loved was not just Philippe Dufour, but FP was there. Again, we're at a, you know, dancing at midnight, having a few drinks in Dubai, and
I'm not missing the Chopard party this time.
We're definitely
last time the Chopard party, everybody's talking about the Chopard had the best party. We did catch you Lisa Ardem party, which is an interesting affair, but this time we have to go to the Chopard party.
We're gonna do a much better job this time of scheduling our social events.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. Last time we worked a little too much. We got to party a little bit this time.
So okay, so we're gonna have this big event. It's probably gonna be the first big industry event almost since then. I was thinking about it yesterday, and I'm like, the last big industry event I went to was Dubai Watch Week, and it'll be 2 years in November, and we'll be back doing it there. So I know there's going to be a lot of big brands. Rolex is definitely there again.
Yes.
There's a couple other big brands I've heard rumors of, but I can't officially say. But I'd be curious to see who launches for that next year as well.
I think some people definitely are holding some stuff. I think pretty much any brand who can squeeze in will get into it, because it is the first event that everybody's going to be there. If you're in Europe, it's easy to travel to Dubai, and it's really set up to be a very nice big event. So I think a lot of brands will be in there that, you know, you hear a lot of rumors, but I think people might just pop up and try to squeeze in. I know I've personally gotten called by, you know, some makers like, hey, can you get me in Dubai watching, because they know it's going to be a great event this year. So I'm excited. I'm interested to see what pieces might pop up that we're not thinking about right now. But definitely there'll be some good surprises like every Dubai Watch Week, and it's gonna be
I remember Ressence did a great piece last time.
Oh,
Benoit was roaming around. I got to spend, that was the first time I got to sit down and have a coffee with him.
Yes.
I think that personal interaction as well as the new watches. I mean, obviously, you know, we talked about today on the show, like we see so many new releases that are just little tweaks and little. I'd love to see a big launch, and I think some companies might be holding back for it.
I think so, because where else are you going to get everybody there with hands-on, right? Without, you know, sometimes the pictures are good from press releases, but there's nothing like having the watch in the metal, and you can get so much great press and good, you know, social media push just by releasing something in the flesh. And I feel like people hold out special pieces for Dubai Watch Week and not just little tweaks in colors. You had the Hublot anti-clockwork.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Anti-clockwise movement watch that was released last time. So I think some people hold special things just for Dubai Watch Week because everybody's there and you can just get a nice boom, especially since we haven't been able to. Everything's been digital.
Right, and I think also the Siddiqui family is so well respected in the industry.
Yes.
They have such clout. That part of the market is growing dramatically. Asia's still quiet because of the COVID situation, so I think, you know, that's almost slowing down. So I think it's really going to focus a lot of attention on the UAE and on Siddiquis, and hopefully for us too.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun time. And it's also the 50th anniversary of the UAE, and they have Expo 2020.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So I think they have a lot of special things planned, and this will be a very interesting Dubai Watch Week and Q4 for that area. For sure, it's going to be amazing. I'm excited.
I'm sorry you're going to leave us again, because it was great seeing you here and being able to sit in person. But again, I'll see you in a few months in Dubai.
Yes, sir. We're going to have some fun. I'll get the turkey.
All right. Get the turkey going, and let's get our social calendar filled up.
Yes. This time I'm not missing that so far.
I'm trusting you. All right, man. Great to have you.
Good to see you, Mike.
Thanks.